These are 2008 World Champions of Baseball.
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions. Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Now entering the game for Philly Press Box Radio, Bill Furman and Jim Chet Chesko.
It's Wednesday, March 22nd, 2023. Welcome to the Philly Press Box Radio Roundtable, brought to you by the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, Allstate Insurance in Westchester, PA, and the Edge of Philly Sports Network. I'm Bill Furman. I'll be your host tonight, along with my partner, Jim Chet Chesko. And Chet, the Sixers finally lost to the Bulls after winning 8 in a row. They now sit 3 behind the leaders, but 1 behind the Celtics, and both of those are in the win column. It's time to make the move. Let's go. 11 to go. Time to overtake the Celtics. Eagles free agency took a twist since our last show. We will certainly discuss that. You got to spend a lot of fun on a long weekend in spring training in Clearwater. You're still smiling just when I bring it up. I know you had a great time. You got to visit with a whole lot of people and bring in a couple games. There were a few Phillies missing playing the World Baseball Classic. We'll certainly talk about that. Flyers are still playing out the string. Please let it end soon. And March Madness, man, it has been crazy. Plenty to talk about.
Yeah, lots of ground to cover, as always, Bill. And a bit of breaking news for you right now. We've got a brand new sponsor for our show, helping to support us beginning tonight. Cavs Philly Tailgates in Huntington Valley. All the tasty details on that a little later in the show, Bill.
Fantastic. Great to have them on board. Well, hey, we have great guests tonight. Joining us, WIP host, author, college professor, What's Brewing co-host, you name it, he does it. Whole bunch more. Glen Macnow will be joining us.
Yeah, he's got quite a resume, Bill, and we have no shortage of topics to cover with him. He's there, ready to go. Let's get it going, Bill.
Let's do it. Let's welcome the prof, Glen Macnow, back to Philly Press Box Radio. Glen, welcome. Where do we start with the titles? Whoop, we muted him.
Lost your vocals there, Glen.
Change it.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Now
Yes,
we
sir.
got you.
Okay, we'll go with that. Well, today you can start with grandfather because I've been babysitting a 2-year-old all day. So
Oh, wow.
we'll go with that today.
There you
You're
go.
probably worn out.
Yeah, pretty much. He can last longer than I can, that's for sure.
I'm sure. Well, Glenn, even though it's almost time for another Phillies regular season that we're pretty excited about and a Sixers postseason, it's always good to start talking about the Eagles. So we're going to do that. Over the last 10 days or so, the Birds have managed to retain several of their free agents, but they also lost 6 or 7 starters along the way, including Miles Sanders, Javon Hargrave, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. So let me ask you, what are the key things for Howie Roseman to address now through other free agency moves and the late April draft?
Well, he's got to build up the back end of the defense, and that's going to be the big challenge. I mean, he's got to get 2 safeties, really. They lose Gardner-Johnson, they lose Epps. I mean, the secondary really took a hit, and they have no linebackers. They really need to do that too. Now, the good news is you can do this late, and they've done it before. They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson last year pretty late, so you can address these things, and it is good to know the fans aren't panicked, but by my count, they've lost 5 defensive starters, and that's a lot to replace.
Absolutely. And you know, I was not surprised that they let Miles Sanders go, but he's a big loss too to me. Anybody that averages 5 yards a carry for his career, that's a loss.
Yeah, now they brought in a guy who averages 5.8, Rashard Penny, when he's healthy, which is a rare and wondrous thing.
Yeah.
Listen, he's a really explosive back, but he missed, I think he played only 5 games last year before he went out with a broken leg. I like Miles Sanders a lot. I'm less worried about that loss only because the offense is so good and they have so many weapons that I think with Penny, with Gainwell, with Boston Scott, they'll probably add a running back in the draft. They'll be okay. But I don't want to minimize Miles Sanders by any stretch. He had a nice career. But, man, that defense, and by the way, and they lost their defensive coordinator. So they got a lot that they got to rebuild there.
Yeah, Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox will both be back, but they're going to be 35 in a couple of weeks and 32 in the case of Cox. Did you agree with the decision to bring them back? And with Hargrave having gone, how important is it now for Jordan Davis and Milton Williams to step it up next season?
I definitely agree with bringing back Brandon Graham, particularly at the price that brought him back. He was very effective last year, playing about 20, 25 snaps a game. And I think you can get another year out of him doing that. Fletcher Cox is a guy who wants to play more, who likes to play more, but his effectiveness is just not close to what it was a couple of years ago. And they gave him $10 million. I'm not delighted with him back at that salary. We'll see. To the second part of your question, very critical. Jordan Davis, I thought he looked good before he got hurt the second time last year. He's got to step in. He's a different player than Hargrave. Hargrave is a guy who piles up sacks. Jordan Davis, I think, is a guy more is going to plug up the middle, which is a good thing. I want that. But a different kind of player. And the other guy who's going to be very important next year is Nakobe Dean. Again, you lose all those linebackers. They got him in the third round last year. They were very excited about getting him at that bargain price. I think we all were. This is the year he gets to play.
Absolutely. Hey, Glenn, they're going to have to pay Jalen Hurts. How are they going to manage everything they have to manage, getting personnel, and still figure out how to pay Jalen Hurts, which is going to be what, top 5 money, top 7 money, something like that?
Yeah. Well, the good news is I'm not Howie Roseman, so I don't have to. I don't have to know how to do that. I just have to kind of have faith that he can do that. I mean, you can backload the contract. There's you can put a certain amount into bonus money. There are ways to do it. I think when they did the budget last year, they did not envision they would be paying Hurts as much as they're about to.
Yeah.
And listen, that's why you don't get to keep Hargrave. That's why you don't get to keep some of those guys. That's the way it works. But they'll be able to do it, and they'll be able to still build a team around that.
Yep, going to be interesting these next few weeks and months for sure. Let's switch our attention to the Sixers right now. They've been playing very well of late. The Monday, mishap, we'll let that one slide. They had won a bunch in a row. They're within striking distance of the Celtics in the second spot in the East. Wouldn't be nice to get ahead of them. What do you make of this team? Can they finally get over the hump and get past the second round? Please tell me they can.
I'm very impressed with what I've seen over the last 2 or 3 weeks. Really impressed. And the 3 guys that are on the screen right now are the 3 guys that will be the reason they can get past the second round. Embiid is playing the best basketball of his career. He needs to carry that into the playoffs for the first time. He's really never done that. He's never stayed healthy in the playoffs. I mean, it wasn't his fault that he got a broken face, but he's got to just stay healthy in the playoffs. James Harden was a terrible disappointment last year in the playoffs. I know Monday he was shot, whatever it was, 1 for 12 or something. He couldn't hit anything, but he's been doing really well also as of late. Their chemistry is terrific. And I love the energy of the kid. I think Maxey he's averaged more than 20 points over the last 10 games. If you get that out of him, if you get those 3 guys, they can carry you certainly past the second round. How's it going to play out? What, Milwaukee will be the third round, we figure? Is that what you envision?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good possibility.
Yeah, that's a tough one. So you asked if they can get by the second round. Yes, but I want to see them beat the Celtics. I think they have the Celtics coming up in about another week or so. They haven't beaten the Celtics, I think, since it was, Larry Bird and Dr. J. They need to just beat the Celtics one of these days to show that they can do it.
Well, two-sided question for you, Glenn. One is, do they have enough depth on that bench when they're going to need it? And 2, can the guy on the other end of the bench manage that bench well enough to win?
They don't have a great bench. I mean, Embiid's going to have to play 45 minutes a game, right? And not die of exhaustion by the end of the second round. So, yeah, it's not something that they're particularly great at. I thought they would be able to address it more this year before the trade deadline than they did. I'm not a huge believer in Doc Rivers. but again, they've been playing really well as of late. So at least for now, as we approach the end of March, I want to believe that Doc Rivers can take them into June. I can't give you solid evidence. I can't give you real reason based on anything I've seen in the postseason here, but, new season, new chemistry, sure. That was rather, I know that was an evasive answer. But
that was smooth is what it was.
Well, I don't want to say that he can't, right? I mean, if I had to bet my life on it, I probably would not bet on Doc Rivers, but I don't want to sit here tonight and say, no, they're not going to do it, because they can do it.
Right.
Hey, Glenn, on Monday night, the Sixers honored their 1983 team, the 40-year anniversary of that great club. You weren't in Philadelphia yet, so you were an outsider at the time. What do you remember about those 83 Sixers led by Billy Cunningham, Moses Malone, Julius Erving, Andrew Toney and company?
Yeah, I was living in Detroit at the time, going to Pistons games, kind of right before the Pistons got on that arc of how good they were. And I just remember seeing when the Sixers would come in town, the star power on that team was unbelievable. Dr. J, even before I lived here, was my favorite player in the NBA. I mean, the most elegant player in the history of the sport. The highlights, the dunk over Landisburg in L.A., the rock the baby slam dunk. I mean, Dr. J was just a beautiful player to watch. And they also had you talk about teams that depth. They had real depth. There was a guy, I think, from Detroit on that team, Earl Cureton, who was a backup player, but really nice player. They had those guys up and down, and Andrew Toney could kill you with the darts from center court. They were a pleasure to watch, and they could do everything.
Absolutely. Hey, what do you think about the Phillies, Glenn? A lot of excitement down here in the Florida side. Coming off of last year, the bullpen certainly should be better on paper. We'll see. The lineup, even without Harper, should still be strong. They've added a little starting pitching. What do you think?
Very gung-ho. A little worried about injuries in the starting staff, which is kind of the only thing that I think could really hurt this team. Saw today that Ranger Suarez is not going to be starting the regular season. Got a strain for him. I don't want to mischaracterize the injury. It didn't sound real serious, but he's not going to be able to be there at the beginning. Of course, they were hoping Andrew Painter would, and he's not there. They picked up starting pitching in the offseason. They're going to need it. Oh, look at that. Look at that arm. Look at that. That's a golden arm right there. I think they're going to pound the ball. And if the bullpen is as good as you just said you think it's going to be, Bill, then they should be very, very good. The thing about bullpens is it's tough year to year. I mean, so many guys are up one year, down the next, up one year. So it's kind of tough to say. But I think it's one of the six best teams. They are one of the six best teams in baseball. The only challenge is that two of the other best teams in baseball are in the same division. So they may have to go the same route as last year.
Hey, we heard from a couple of guys on WIP, as it turned out, Tuesday morning, Dave Dombrowski and Larry Boa, kind of hinting at the possibility of Bryce Harper actually getting back into the lineup by the very end of May. Wouldn't that be a nice surprise?
That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, it's they've already shortened the time, I think, the official time, and he's swinging the bat and he's doing things and everything looks really positive. Yeah, if they can get him back as a DH, so say he'll miss whatever, 50, 60 games and be able to play more than half of the season, that would be a great pick-me-up for a lineup that already – I was sitting down the other day trying to draw out a batting order. I got to tell you, I don't know who gets relegated down to 6, 7, 8, but those guys are going to be real solid hitters. They are going to score a lot of runs.
It's easy to get really excited about Trey Turner after what he did in the last week or 10 days, but take that aside. What a solid addition it looks like Turner should be, and especially he gets in that leadoff spot. This could be a real big year for him.
Yeah, so last year they had to put Schwarber in the leadoff spot, which, listen, he hit 50 home runs, so it's not a terrible thing to do, right? He does produce runs, but I'd much rather have a guy on base when Schwarber comes up. And the thing about Trey Turner is he's got power for a shortstop, 20, 25 home runs, maybe more in this ballpark. He's got terrific speed, and I think this year stealing's going to be up all around baseball. I'll put him down for 30, 35 steals. He can hit for average. He can take a walk. He's a very good defensive shortstop. There's not a flaw in his game. He's a terrific teammate. He's a leader. You saw in the World Baseball Classic, those clutch situations, he came up and delivered. I got to give credit to the ownership, and I got to give credit to the team and the town that Philly has now become a destination for major league players. They want to come here. He turned down less money to go to San Diego to come here. I mean, think of, last year they had Schwarber and Castellanos. Castellanos had a disappointing year, but that was some pretty good additions. This year, Trey Turner and Taijuan Walker, I think, is going to be a very good starter. Before that, it's Bryce Harper and JT Realmuto. For a team that has not been great at developing its own players, and that is something they're not great at, they managed to add a lot of terrific ones, and the owner's willing to spend the money to do it.
We had Tom McCarthy on the show a week or two back, and he said he thinks this team will be better than last year. And, of course, last year they won, 88, 89 games and went to the World Series. So I hope T-Mac is right. Hey, Glenn, we have to we got to sneak in one Flyers question.
Sure.
It was just,
absolutely.
It was just about a year ago.
Every show that I do on WIP, I try to mention all four teams.
Yeah.
And if mentioning the Flyers is only to blast them, I just want I want Flyer fans to know that we still care.
Yeah. Well, it was just about a year ago that both on WIP and then on a follow-up interview with us, you described the Flyers as dead rot. That was exactly early March of last year. What is the state of the Flyers organization now, Glenn? From dead rot to what?
Yeah, what do you get after that? I mean, petrified forest. I don't know. I don't know where you go after that.
Oh boy,
it's just a horrible shame that really what was one of the most proud franchises in hockey, a franchise that really mattered. Even when they weren't winning, they really mattered, has now just become the Columbus Blue Jackets East. Well, they wish they were the Columbus Blue Jackets. They've just become an irrelevant, bad franchise. You saw what happened 2 weeks ago when the New York Rangers fans came in and took over our building. That was embarrassing. I think that event, along with what happened at the trade deadline, or what didn't happen at the trade deadline, along with a couple of really bad interviews, led to Chuck Fletcher being fired. General managers in hockey don't usually get fired in March, but they did. It's a good first start. They need a lot more changes up and down, and I would say a lot of it has to start at the top. They need new people running the organization, and they need some of the entrenched people who've been there for decades to kind of move out of those positions of power.
Wait, Glenn, one final comment from me or question from me. We haven't had Ray on the show since he retired one of those times. Is it true
that you're the only show he's not been on in that case?
Well, we have him lined up, I'm sure.
He's the worst did he at retiring of anybody.
Yeah, we had him on in January.
Yeah, did he get thrown out of the house? Is that what happened? She had enough of him and said, "Get you and your football, your yellow pad out of here," or what?
I don't think that's what it is. I think Ray misses it more than he thought he was going to miss it. So, but I think he's going to settle into retirement. I think his wife's got plans to travel. I think looking ahead to the summer, he'll get to spend more time with his grandkids. But yeah, I mean, Ray thought he could step away before a football season, and that's too much in his blood.
All right.
If the Eagles had stunk and maybe, we're 5-12, it would have been easier, but
yeah, I mean, they were going to the playoffs and then the Super Bowl. Yeah. So,
well, Glenn,
I got some use out of it. I appreciated it.
Yeah. As we prepare to wrap things up with you, I want to do a little 3 and out with you, if we could. 3 quick questions and, brief answers from you. All right. Speaking of Ray Diddy, WIP had him on this morning and asked him this question. Now I'm going to ask you your take. Who is currently the best athlete in Philadelphia playing right now, assuming they're all healthy?
Joel Embiid. What did Ray say?
That is what the poll said also. 48% for Embiid, Harper and Hurts, 28 and 23% respectively. Ray Diddy, though, said Bryce Harper. So,
wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Number 2, We all love the What We're Watching segment on WIP on your show on Saturday mornings. How'd you like the Your Honor season 2 finale? And can they please bring it back for a third season? Wouldn't that be nice?
Love that show.
Yeah.
It's most shows that I watch aren't as good after the first season, right? They have a great first season, and it's not unusual to decline. I thought season 2 of Your Honor was as good as season 1. I thought the finale was great, and it does set up the very last scene. I don't want to give it away.
I know.
But to me, that scene says, oh, good, they'll be back. And I love that show. Bryan Cranston's great in it, and as everybody else. Yeah.
Yeah, Brian's terrific. Now, most importantly, Glenn, this is the most important question I'm going to ask you. About 3 weeks ago, you put a teaser out there about Conshohocken Brewery doing a Franzke and LA beer, late April, I think. Is that definitely happening? And what can you tell us about plans for this, what I'm assuming is going to be a great beer?
Well, thank you. I think the plan is that it will be a great beer. I have faith in our brewers that it will be. So it is going to be the name of the beer is currently under discussion, as well as the can art. But there is going to be a Franzke and LA beer. It's going to be a golden ale this time, as opposed to an IPA, which is what we did for Merrill and Mike, and what we did when we did a beer with Mark Zumoff. It's going to be a golden ale. It's going to be very crushable, ballpark kind of beer. It's going to benefit charity, Philadelphia Youth Sports Association, which is a terrific charity. And it should be out, I would think before Memorial Day.
Terrific.
And very excited about that. Yes, and we will.
Yeah, me too.
We will be selling beer. I'm not sure we'll be selling that beer, but we will be selling our beer in the ballpark this year again, which is always nice.
I'm enjoying a Von C OG Pils right now.
Von C makes very good beer.
They really do.
That's a really good brewery, and their Pilsner particularly. Their German-style beers are great. We did a couple of the beer shows there. Was good. I'm enjoying a Conshohocken Brewing Company MC5, which is my favorite hazy IPA. Bill, what are you rocking down there?
Unsweet tea, green tea.
All right,
Slacker.
Calm yourself down there, Bill.
That's right. Hey, I wanted to ask you what else is going on over at the Conshohocken Brewery. What else you have going on there, and what's happening with the TV show?
Well, we got some beers coming out for the spring. I know we're going to do a Mexican lager for Cinco de Mayo. One of our more popular beers every year is our Blood Orange IPA. This year we're going to put some guava in it, make it a little more summery. So we got that going as well. And the amazing thing about the beer show is that they basically allow two old guys to sit around on TV and talk about beer. And they put that on the air. And so we're in our 7th season with that. We've got some more fun shows coming up. Actually, I just recorded a couple with my pal Jody McDonald. And the nice. 2 Jody Mac shows are coming up starting next week. This week. That's right. We're already into Wednesday. This weekend is one of the shows with Jody Mac where Jody does a blind taste test of 5 macro lagers, Jody being a Budweiser guy.
That's right, yeah.
And I will just tell you that as much as Jody thinks he loves Budweiser, might not have finished first in the blind taste test.
Ooh. Can't wait for that.
Nice tease.
Oh, there you go. I can do that.
Thanks, Glenn.
All right. Well, hey, Glenn, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. As always, great. And good luck with the many endeavors that you have going on.
Thank you, guys. It's always my pleasure to see you. I'll talk to you again.
All right.
Thanks, Glenn. All right, Jed. Spring just around the corner, but you can still save money with Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance.
Yeah, that's right, Bill. Allstate's pay-as-you-go auto insurance puts you in control. You only pay for the miles you drive with the same full coverage that a traditional policy offers. Pay-per-mile insurance gives customers greater control of their insurance costs. See how much you can save with pay-per-mile car insurance by calling your local agent. In Westchester, PA, that is Dave Lavoie. Call Dave at 610-430-0700. And again, that is 610-430-0700. And start to save more now that you are driving less.
Very good. Tell us what's going on at the Irish Rover while you're out driving around or saving or whatever you got going on.
Well, Bill, they did survive a St. Patty's weekend over at the Irish Rover Station House. I'm sure that was a lot of fun. I would have been there if I weren't down in Florida, but there's always a great time to be had at the Irish Rover. For example, every Wednesday evening, they have Quizzo. Also, prime rib specials every Wednesday. Dinner specials then every Thursday through Sunday. Oh, I love cod, and that chili lime cod sounds delicious. So does the buffalo chicken dip too. I love that. Live music on Saturday night. Is a DJ this weekend, and I can attest to this. Always 24 beers on tap at the Irish Rover. Check it out. The Irish Rover Station House is on Bellevue Avenue in Langhorne, and you can get more details at their website. As you may guess, that is the IrishRoverStationHouse.com. Again, IrishRoverStationHouse.com. We just spoke about this guy a minute ago, so let's hear from him.
Hi, this is Ray Dinger, and it is always fun to talk sports with these two guys, Bill and Chet, on Philly Press Box Radio.
And always great to talk to Ray Diddy.
Sure is.
All right. Hey, we were talking Sixers with Glenn. They've won 8 in a row. They're closing the gap. They're even in the loss column now. 2 games behind the Celtics in the win column. Just 1 game behind. That's big to get that second spot, Chet. They need to get it.
Yeah, it was a tough loss the other night when Harden just kind of stunk up the joint. We'll forgive him for that because he's been playing so great of late. The last 2 games had a little foot problem, so his movement was limited, and that contributed, I think, to his poor play and the poor shooting as well. So PJ talking about beer and Glenn. Yeah, he probably does. I respect Glenn for that. That's one of the reasons I admire Glenn so much, his beer knowledge. But yeah, I'm excited about this Sixers team, and I really hope that they can get past the second round this year. On the bright side, if they don't, they're going to fire the coach. They have to. There's no choice. So let's get it done, Sixers.
Well, hey, I got something I need to throw at you because I always say this, and it's not because they lost this particular game, but when you look at it, it went double overtime. So we get that. There was more minutes in the game, right?
Yeah.
But Embiid 44 minutes, Harden 46, Harris 46, Maxey 46, Melton 39. House played 23. His bench, 4 guys, total 42 minutes. It almost seems like every time they get into a close game or get behind in a game, he squeezes the bench, and that is going to kill him in the end. I just don't have the faith in this guy that he can pull this off. I just don't. They have the talent, as we were just saying with Glenn, but I just don't like how he handles this thing.
Well, I question it too, but it's telling me that he doesn't have a whole lot of faith in that bench. And some of that is justified because, as we've discussed pretty much every week, the bench is just so inconsistent. I'd like to see him give Shake Milton a little more valuable minutes because Milton can get it going occasionally. As for House, he's been a disappointment. Now, of course, they were without Tucker the last 2 games, too. And he's not a scorer, but he is a great defender and a decent rebounder. So not having Tucker, that was a negative. They're playing the same team that they lost to the other night in Chicago. And I don't know what the score is at this point. I think they're not even started yet. I think it's an 8 o'clock Eastern time start. And I think that they will win this one because there's the revenge factor. And, the Sixers do want to get that second seed because they want home court if they have to play the Celtics in the second round.
Yeah, I think they'll win tonight too. But again, it's the circumstance of the night that kind of bothers me with the way it gets handled. And I just hope it doesn't get them at the end. It just worries me. And, the coach's job part is to develop that bench. And when you can't practice much because you play all the time, they need to get some time on the court during games to be able to develop. So, or you don't need them, one or the other. But you can't get down to crunch time and expect these 5 or 6 guys to play all 40-plus minutes every night. It's not going to last.
Yeah, and they got a real tough schedule now over the next 2 weeks. They have 5 straight road games starting tonight, 2 or 3 of them out west. Golden State, Denver, Phoenix, and Denver and Phoenix, 2 of the best teams in the league in the West. And Golden State's much tougher at home than they are, when they're not at home. So this is going to be a tough next road for the Sixers, and I just hope they can stay, in the hunt, maybe win 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 if they're really fortunate. So, a big
they better win more than 2 out of 5.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule though, like I said. So you got to hope Boston loses a game or 2 along the way too. They haven't been playing lights out of late. That's why the Sixers pretty much caught them the other night.
Yeah, no, I don't expect them to lose 3 out of 5 games. I would be really disappointed if I saw that.
I would too. I'm
three,
three out of
three
five,
or
so.
4. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're
Win
going
tonight and 2 out of the next 4, that's 3 out of 5. So I'll take that.
Yeah, if you're going to be the team that you hope you're going to be, you can't go to the road here in the last 11 games and lose 3 out of 5. That would be really bad.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right. Well, hey, let's circle back, talk a little more Eagles free agency. A lot of interesting things have happened. As we mentioned, Bradbury is back. Slay is back. Greedy Williams is an Eagle. C.J. Gardner-Johnson and his mouth is not an Eagle because he thinks the Lions are a little better than the Eagles. Good for him. Miles Sanders is gone. Rashad Penny is here. Boston Scott is here. Howie has a really lot of work to do, and I'm not sure where you start at this point.
Yeah, they do have a lot of work to do. I mean, you're losing 6 or 7 starters from a team that just went to the Super Bowl. Great that they were able to get a couple of the guys back, at least Slay and Bradbury. Would have been nice to get CJ. I can never get that right. CJ GJ. Did I get it right?
CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Gardner-Johnson. Yeah. Well, we call it the initials for short.
Right.
It's a shame about Kaiser White leaving too, because I thought he was pretty solid. And TJ Edwards, the other linebacker who, was really solid this year. So as we discussed with Glenn, it's going to be up to Nakobe Dean to step up. Plus the other guy that they brought in just signed to a 1-year deal. So there are still some holes to be filled. We know that. You know who's a guy that we keep forgetting about? Derek Barnett is still on this roster and theoretically will be healthy. So he's a guy who will be getting some time at defensive end, which would be good. I mean, he's certainly no Javon Hargrave on the D-line, but it'll be nice to get him back healthy, we assume. And hopefully Brandon Graham can, get it going for 1 more year. Limited playing time seemed to work for him this year with a career best 11 sacks.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was interesting. If you look down the list, almost all the guys that the Eagles have gone back out and signed are on 1-year deals. They're just trying to fill holes, I think, as they get control back of the salary cap and get Jalen Hurts lined up, however that's going to be. So you put up with these guys, not put up with, that's the wrong way to say it. You use these guys for 1 more year, Cox, Graham, probably Kelsey as well, and they all go 1 more time, and they just try to fill some holes with those guys. And the shame of it is, Chet, we talked about this during the season, and I said this after they lost the Super Bowl that they should have won. That was the best Eagles team that we've probably ever seen, and it might be the best one we're ever going to see.
Exactly.
Because now you're all scrambled up in salary cap issues, and you have to pay your quarterback, and you're not going to be able to put the talent together again like what they had this time, and that window is now closed.
Yeah, and this was the challenge that Howie had after the Super Bowl team 5 years ago. And, he got it done to an extent, but still wasn't as good as that Super Bowl winning team. And now he's got to do it after a team that almost won a second Super Bowl. Didn't quite happen. And it's going to be a real challenge replacing all these guys given the financial situation. So really curious to see what Howie has up his sleeve. Yeah,
well, it's I hate to see it because I think the hopes are high for the Eagles as well as they are for the Phillies, but the hopes are high, and I'm just not sure that they can repeat this in 5 years. Times have changed, and I don't think anybody really wants to wait 5 more years for a Super Bowl.
Hell no, Bill. Hell no. I'm curious to see how he can do over the next few months. Because remember, last year was much later on that he signed Bradbury and Gardner-Johnson. So, things can happen over the course of the summer. Guys can get released. Things can happen. So it's going to be that kind of summer once again, I think. And maybe as late as, August, they'll get another starter somehow, somewhere.
Yeah. And, well, you have to have the money. And I think that's where they're going to be in a little bit of a jam, which take that one step further. Maybe that means that 10 pick, that first pick, maybe you don't make a pick there. Maybe you trade back and do some other things to stay out of that rookie money for 2 first rounders. I mean, there's all kinds of different things they could do, but does all that make your team better when you're trying to chase dollars around rather than players around?
Hey, what do you make of Bijan Robinson being in Philly for a little interview on Monday or Tuesday? There's no way the Eagles would use a 10th pick to draft a running back, and he's not going to fall to 30. So was this just a courtesy thing, just kicking the tires kind of thing, or what?
Oh, he's a great college running back for sure. No, and I wouldn't be surprised if they pick him. I mean, I don't know. 10 is a little high, but I'm not sure where the best players are going to fall at this point. The corners, they now have 3 corners with the signing of Greedy Williams, so that's covered. They need safeties. They might get some veteran safeties. I don't know. You're taking a linebacker at 10. Who are you going to pick? You're not taking anybody on the offensive side, except maybe a running back. Unless they're going to go for a backup tackle, Skoronski or one of those guys as a backup tackle for Lane Johnson and get ready for that future, maybe.
If they stick at 10, I think they go either O-line or D-line or cornerback, because I think they could still use a quality cornerback. Greedy Williams is not, anything special. He has a great name, though. Love the name Greedy. So there's that.
Yeah. Well, he's not awful either.
No, but he's had injury problems.
Yeah, but he's not an awful player, and I'm sure they went after him for for some depth back there, and it'll be fine. Maybe he can play the nickel. We'll find out.
Yeah.
All right. Certainly a lot to talk about for the Eagles across the offseason. That's for sure.
There's a lot to talk about all across the Edge of Philly Sports Network, Bill.
That's right. There sure is. And you can catch all that action on www.eopsports.com, as well as Edge of Philly Sports on YouTube. You can also find our show, Philly Press Box Radio YouTube channel as well. Help us out by hitting those subscribe, follow, like buttons. And as always, share with your family and friends. As you can see, shows every day, no matter what sports you have. We even have lacrosse now, Chet. We have everything. It's all covered on the Edge of Philly Sports Network.
EOP, we love those guys. Hey, Bill, I mentioned at the top of the show that we have a brand new sponsor, and I love these guys. We are talking about Cavs Catering, Cavs Philly Tailgates, whatever you want to call them. Fantastic. Bob Cavanaugh has been cooking up terrific catering business for more than 30 years now. Known best for their tailgate parties, and I can attest, as I've enjoyed Bob's delicious food on 4 or 5 occasions over the past 2 years. Cavs is a 3-time winner of Jack Daniel's Great American Tailgate Party Contest and a past winner of the Philly Daily News Tailgate Award, even featured on the Food Network. And the next big event is actually just a couple of weeks away. That is the Phillies home opener, the opening day tailgate, Thursday, April 6th, 11 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. before you head into the ballpark. There will be tailgates also before the April 8th game and on May 6th when the Red Sox are in town. Fantastic food, plenty of cold beverages. Cavs also does corporate events, graduation parties, you name it. Cavs Philly Tailgates is the way to go. If you need more info, email them at cavscatering@verizon.net or check the website, phillytailgates.com. Great bunch of guys. We love hanging out with Bob at the things that we've gone to, and great food. So Cavs also, as it turns out, does the catering for Philly sports trips. And let me tell you about those guys while I'm at it. They've got the trip to Yankee Stadium in April. They can take you out to the draft, the NFL draft, the end of April. There are union trips. There are baseball trips. And then, of course, this fall, there will be all of the Eagles away games. Great packages. You can, go for the whole shebang or just go for the tailgate. They have all sorts of options. Check all of that out. phillysportstrips.com, Bill.
All right. Well, hey, from me, welcome to Cavs. Welcome to Philly Press Box Radio. Glad to have them aboard. And I'll take one of everything on that menu you had up there.
Man.
They all sounded good. I'm sure they taste good.
Yeah, such good food.
All right. Appreciate them joining us. Hey, speaking of that, you had a nice long weekend visit to spring training last week. with a chance to mix in some other fun things. Tell us about your trip. All I kept hearing was, you got to hear the stories. You got to hear the stories. And I haven't heard any of them.
I don't know what they're talking
but
about.
They are making you smile. So something good happened.
I did have a good time. Flew into Tampa on Thursday, and a young lady who I used to work with at Investors Bank during my brief time away from radio, she lives down there now. So met up with her. And we hit several bars in Tampa on St. Patrick's Day Eve. First stop was the Irish pub known as the James Joyce Irish Pub. So that was fun. Hit 3 other bars there in Tampa. Made sure not to drink too much because I had to drive later that night. So headed back to the Clearwater, Palm Harbor area. Met up with my cousin who lives there, stayed at her place. And then that's where I also ran into Rondé Barber, as I did 4 years ago. Rondé Barber, now an NFL or Pro Football Hall of Famer. So good to say hello to him and allow him to make some fun of me being an Eagles fan, because all in good fun. He's a great guy, and I did congratulate him on being a Hall of Famer. Friday was St. Patrick's Day, but it was also ball game day. And thanks to Cavs and Philly Sports Trips, I got a somehow invitation to their tailgate before the game. Took advantage of that, and that's where I got to say hello to Larry Anderson and Charlie Manuel and eat some of that great food from Cavs. There's LA and me. That was good. The game itself was nice. The Phillies actually won. Bailey Falter looked pretty good. I saw Wheels after the game. Always good to say hello to Chris Wheeler. We'll have him on, of course, again at some point this spring or summer. Wheels is loving it. He's Mr. Spring Training down there. You know that. And speaking of Cav, there he is. This was St. Patrick's Day. We may have had one of those cold beverages or two by this point in the evening. It was a good time, believe me. And then there was Saturday and Sunday, and there were more fun things. I took a trip down to, I can never get this right, Lake Boat Key. Is that what it's called?
Longboat Key.
Longboat Key. I could never get that name right.
Yep.
Longboat Key. Yes. Made the 2-hour drive. My cousin, who actually has a home in San Diego, apparently he's doing well. He bought a home now also down in Longboat Key, he and his wife. So I was down there with him and some other friends on Sunday having a good old time. They have a rooftop deck on their summer, winter home, whatever you want to call it. You can go from San Diego to Florida. Either way, you're getting pretty good weather, so it must be nice. But it was a good time. It was a great weekend. Saw Robbie Ellis Saturday night and her husband, spent some time with them. That was fun. Always good to see Robbie.
Good catch, because she just hit you up.
See, and I didn't know. I was getting to that, Robbie. I'm getting to that. Yes, spent some quality time with Robbie and Bob. We had some drinks and some food at a place called CK's, which was actually attached to the hotel that I stayed at Saturday and Sunday night. Did not post the Uncle Charlie pic because Charlie looked like he did not want to actually be talking to me. So I was like the next to the last person in line, and he was ready to hop on the bus and get out of there. I said, Charlie, please, I didn't want a picture with you. So I got a picture with Charlie, but yeah, not worth posting. He didn't look too happy to see me. I don't know why. I was happy to see him. But all in all, Bill, great weekend, 4 days in Florida, couple of days, beautiful weather. The last 2, Saturday and Sunday, kind of cloudy, kind of windy, not great. But you know what? The beers were cold. The people were great. So a good time had by all.
And it was a lot warmer than being in New Jersey.
I'll tell you, Saturday and Sunday, it was not that much warmer.
There were a couple of chilly days for sure.
Yeah, kind of chilly.
Sounds like you had a good time, and next time I'll be freed up to catch up with you.
I will hold you to that, Bill.
You got it. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the big dance in college basketball. It is underway. It's absolute chaos, Chet. Started with Furman's upset, followed by Princeton, Fairleigh Dickinson. Number 1 seed Kansas is out. Number 1 Purdue is out. The brackets are smashed. Princeton's in the Sweet 16. Who'd have thunk?
Well, first, Bill, congrats on that Furman round 1 victory. I know you were pulling for them. Condolences
Absolutely.
on the second round ouster. Sorry about that. Real happy to see Princeton advance to the Sweet 16. You know, I've learned to never put any real big money on March Madness because so few things seem to go the way they're expected to. But the shocking thing is both your pick and my pick to win it all, that would be UCLA and Houston, are still alive. So there you go.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And you know what? Can't wait for the next round to get started. If it's half as good as what we saw in the early rounds. It's going to be fun to watch all the way to the end, and especially with these number ones getting knocked off.
Yeah, so we have games Thursday and Friday, and then the winners advance to games Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll have our final four, and we'll see if UCLA and or Houston are still alive. I would love to see Princeton, win another one. Don't know what the odds of that are, but it'd be kind of nice.
There probably aren't odds of that. They aren't supposed to be here now, so
no.
I don't know how crazy those odds
are. And all of this after Pete Carrill, left us
right.
6 months ago. So maybe they're doing it for Pete. Who knows?
That's right. Well, hey, some great news in the women's NCAA tournament, Chet. The Villanova ladies have reached the Sweet 16 against Miami. Villanova is the 4 seed. Miami's the 9 seed after knocking off number 1 Indiana. The Lady Cats are carrying that Philadelphia tournament torch this year.
Can't say that I'm following it much, but yeah, I did know Villanova was advancing. Now they got a team that, as you said, just knocked off a top seed. So maybe Miami will carry some of that enthusiasm and momentum into the next round. Kind of hope not, because we'd like to see Nova move forward. As you noted, it's been a tough year for the men of Philadelphia, the Big Five, the Big Six, if you want to count Drexel. So,
no, we don't.
No. All we got now, the Nova women and I guess Princeton, not too far away. So.
Yep. Well, and the Penn State Nittany Lions on the basketball side, they got their 1 win and they went on home. So
yeah, they made it a bit of a battle though, the second round.
Yeah. Well, okay. And the thing about Villanova in the ladies' side, the South Carolina Gamecocks, led by a Philly native, Dawn Staley, who's done everything there is to do in basketball, and including several national championships, is the number 1 seed, and they're the team to beat, and they are really, really, really good. So it'll be a tough road for Villanova if they can continue on.
Yes, it will. We wish them the best of luck, though.
That's right. Hey, great guest tonight at Glen Macnow. So who you have coming to Philly Press Box Radio next week as baseball season is coming?
Yeah, Bill, 8 days away right now, the Phillies season opener. They will be on the road, I think, Texas, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
We will be having with us the great Phillies radio voice joining us to help preview the season. I'm, of course, talking about the awesome Scott Fransky. We appreciate Scott finding some time for us every spring. He'll squeeze us into his schedule next week. And we will also have next week a short chat with the guy that I mentioned just a little while ago, since he is a brand new sponsor. Going to have Bob Kavanaugh of Cavs Philly Tailgates joining the show next week to talk about not only his business, but the fact that he's been a Philadelphia sports fan for his entire life, just like you and I have, Bill. So Scott Fransky and Cav joining us next week. And you and I will have to make our official season predictions for the Phillies.
That's right. And let me tell you, Chet, let's just get this out here now. We'll talk final predictions next week. There is going to be bedlam at the bank next Wednesday on Philly Press Box Radio.
Oh, yes, indeed. Yeah, Scott has really made a name for himself with that. So
absolutely.
Love it.
Absolutely. And I'm sure there'll be a clip floating around somewhere, but
good possibility.
Good possibility. Hey, the Flyers, is there anything to say about the Flyers? You got anything to say? What?
Nope.
Go ahead.
I got nothing.
They won last night. Carter Hart made 41 saves. They beat the Florida Panthers, who are a good team, and put up 6 goals and got a win. Go figure.
They don't even know how to tank properly, Bill.
Tanking is not a thing. Players don't tank.
I know. But it would help
fans want tanks. Players don't tank.
I know. Bill, I don't want to talk about the Flyers. What I do want to talk about is what I mentioned briefly to Glen Macnow, and that is those 1983 Sixers that were honored the other night. A shame Billy Cunningham couldn't be there. He was under the weather. I don't think it's anything real serious, according to Jim Lynam. But Andrew Toney, what is it? Why can't they mend fences with Toney? I don't remember this too much, but apparently he was in the building 10 years ago in 2012 for a game, but it was kind of, kept under the wraps. He was there, and a few fans did see him and say hello to him, but they didn't promote it or anything. Otherwise, he never comes back for these things. And it's just a shame because he was just such a crucial guy to those early 80s Sixers teams. He was the Boston Strangler and a key guy along the way to that 1983 title. So I wish that would change. And, we can't bring Moses Malone back, certainly, but boy, it would be nice to have Tony back in the building.
Yeah, it would. And you know, I don't know certainly all the ins and outs of that, but I can tell you this: probably a couple years ago, they had that team at a memorabilia show. A good portion of them. No Andrew Toney. And it didn't have anything to do with the Sixers. It was just with that team. And actually, Moses Malone was there.
Yeah.
So it's been back that long ago. No Andrew Toney. Whatever his beef is, it's deep.
I mean, it was stemming, of course, from the way he was treated with the foot injury, but supposedly he has mended fences with Harold Katz, who is still alive somewhere. Supposedly they did patch things up a few years ago, and yet still no Tony for these events, and that's just a shame. Still good to see Dr. J. Good to see some of the other guys, you know, Clement Johnson, Pat Williams, still alive and well. So good to see Pat in the house the other night too.
Bobby Jones looking good.
Bobby Jones, that's right. Sixth man extraordinaire.
Mo Cheeks was there.
Mark Ivaroni.
Yeah. Fun. That was a fun team, and as Glenn said, it went way down on the bench of a bunch of good guys, Earl Cureton, those kind of guys. It was a fun team to watch. A lot of memories from that bunch.
Yep. So what do we have coming up? We have the tough road for the Sixers, as I mentioned, and then they move into the playoffs, and, you know, all eyes are going to be on the coach to see how he handles things, to see if Harden can come up big, because Harden has not always played great in the postseason. That's been one of the knocks on him. So, you know, if his foot is bothering him right now, take a few days off and get healthy, because, you know, we want to see this team as healthy as they can possibly be going into the playoffs, because I want to see them advance this year. I really do.
It's time. It's time.
It's,
you know,
overtime.
That window, you know, we talk windows. That window's closing too. If you don't get there, you know, sooner or later you got to blow things up. Hey, I wanted to ask you one other thing too. I don't know how much you got to watch it, because I did not get to watch it much, but the World Baseball Classic, the Phillies contributed really well with Schwarber and Real Muto. I didn't get to see a whole lot of it with this crazy stuff I have going on, but it sounded like it was fun, and it sounded like the players absolutely loved it, while the Mets may not be real happy with what happened to their reliever that's now going to miss the season, their ace reliever. Did you get to watch much of it, and what'd you think of it?
A little bit. And as it turns out, we mentioned Robbie and her husband. We were out at a tavern Saturday night when the game was on one of the TVs there, in addition to a band playing. And I just happened to look up at the TV in time to see Trey Turner hitting a grand slam home run. So that was pretty cool. And I did watch the entire final game, the U.S. and Japan, last night, Tuesday night, where the only two runs the U.S. got were courtesy, you know, home runs from both Turner and Schwarber. So that was cool. The Phillies certainly came up big in that one. And yeah, it was a great atmosphere. And the funny thing was, you know, they're playing in Miami, where usually there's, you know, 8,000 people in the stands. It was packed. It was sold out. It was loud. So it was nice to see baseball succeeding down there in Miami. Just happened to be not the Marlins, but the World Baseball Classic. But yeah, I think it did generate some new enthusiasm for the game. And it was really cool. And of course, the way it ended then with Ohtani going against his California Angels or LA Angels teammate, Mike Trout, striking him out. The dramatic, you know, of that was pretty wild. So I really enjoyed it. Wish the U.S. could have scored a couple more runs, but it was fun.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of fans, it was just thought of like an exhibition kind of thing, you know, a kind of go through the motions type thing. The players didn't show that. And the Trey Turner grand slam, you know, he said that's the greatest moment of his baseball life, to have hit that grand slam on that stage. And there's a guy that's been in the league and done a lot of things in the major leagues, and he says that's the biggest at bat of his life. That's pretty darn cool. And I think you know, whether it gained momentum as far as picking up fans, I think it certainly gained momentum in picking up fans for the World Baseball Classic, for sure.
I agree. It did that. It brought a lot of enthusiasm, I think. And it also, I think, generated a lot more excitement about Trey Turner as a Philadelphia Philly after you hit 5 home runs in this little tournament and look like, you know, you can handle the pressure. And he also played a pretty good shortstop, too. Made a great play last night. The guy actually beat it out at first, but still, great play. And, boy, he's going to be fun to watch in the Phillies uniform.
Yeah, he is. And how about our buddy Boop? He posted this. I made me laugh. His post read something like, how many offers for Trey Turner will it take before Philly fans say he's tired from the World Baseball Classic?
Oh, boy. Let's not go there.
Good stuff.
I also saw our buddy Carl Henderson down there, too. So that was nice. I saw Carl on, I guess, Sunday. So that was cool.
Well, I was there the Sunday before. I was there with Carl, and Adam was there. Sean got married down there. So got to see him before his wedding, a few days before his wedding, and a bunch of other people that I knew from up in that Delaware Valley. So fun time to come to Clearwater. If you've never been, try to check it out. It's a good time. You don't necessarily watch a lot of baseball, but you do drink beer and you do hang out with friends, and it's kind of fun. And you catch some sun too while you're at it.
Yeah, all of that. Yeah, I didn't watch the game intently while I was there on Friday. It was more about wandering around, seeing people, sampling the food and drink, and enjoying the beautiful weather that particular day. So that was cool. One thing we didn't mention, Bill, the passing of Willis Reed. Boy, what a great player. We all remember, because we're old, 69 and 73, with the Knicks. And 80 years old, man. We're getting old too, I guess.
Yeah, I'm not, but yeah. You, on the other hand.
Speaking of old, William Shatner, 92 today. I hope you watched some of the little video I posted him singing Rocket Man. It was classic.
I did not see it yet. But William Shatner is a regular on the autograph show circuit. He
will be at Monster Mania in Baltimore next month. Hunt Valley, Maryland, outside of Baltimore next month. How about that? I will not be there, but
you won't
William
be there.
Shatner will.
Okay. All right. Anything else before we wrap her up?
You didn't do a Raz yet.
Well, I'm gonna give you a Raz.
Raz me, Bill.
All right. Let's thank our friends at the PPCC 118 Raz Room. They post great sports memorabilia on their Facebook page so people can take a chance of winning something they may not be able to afford or have access to. All items come with certificates of authenticity. They continue to run out great autographed memorabilia from all the Philly teams and more. Check out their Facebook page. Like it or follow it. It's PPCC 118 Raz Room. That's right. PPCC 118 at Raz Room on Facebook.
Bill, one more thing before we go. I meant to play this earlier. 1983, when the Sixers won the title, they didn't use the 10-9-8 76ers song. That was during the few years period when they had a different theme song, and it happened to be this one. Here's a part of it right here. Nope, not that one. It's the other one. I screwed it up. 1983. Here. To the spectrum everyone, 'cause the Sixers have begun to get hot. So get on up. Come one, come all. To the Sixers style of basketball. We're Philly town, we never quit. We're gonna take that championship. To the spectrum everyone. There you go.
There you go.
Now you can wrap it up.
Well, whatever song they need to play this thing out, let's win some playoff games and make this a fun June or however long it's going to take to get there.
Yep, we hope they go into June. All right, wrap it up, Bill.
Let's wrap it up. Let's thank tonight's special guest, Glen Macnow, our sponsors, the Irish Rover Station House, Bob Sullivan's LikeYourAge.com, PPCC 118 Raz Room, and Dave Lavoie of Allstate Insurance in Westchester, and
Cavs Philly tailgates.
There you go. For Jim, Chet, Chesko, this is Bill Furman. We hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll join Philly Press Box Radio next Wednesday, March 29th at 7 p.m. You can see us live on Facebook. Listen to our website, phillypressboxradio.com, on Google Podcasts, as well as Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and all the others. High hopes, Philadelphia sports fans.